Welcome to the Weird and Wicked podcast. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Kristen.
And we're two sisters with a passion for the mysterious and the unknown. On our podcast, we'll explore killer cases and the most puzzling phenomena.
Come with us down the rabbit hole, where we'll take a magnifying glass to the most bizarre, unnerving, and unbelievable stories. From true crime and conspiracy theories to ghosts and cryptids, we'll cover it all.
Today we'll be talking about Lake Lanier and its haunting past.
Whoever said lakes aren't creepy is so wrong.
Totally agreed. Let's dive in. No pun intended.
Right. Warning. This episode contains topics such as rape, murder, and racial violence. It is strictly intended for mature audiences only. This story is recounted from a number of sources that are listed in the show notes. Our discussion on this podcast is based solely on our own research and conclusions. Listener discretion is advised.
Have you ever been swimming in a lake before? Does it give you an eerie feeling to look down into the water below and not be able to see what could be lying at the bottom or swimming around?
I hate lakes. Maybe it's
Same.
because I grew up in Florida and it's basically common knowledge here that you don't swim in lakes.
Yeah.
Because there could be a gator in any lake.
Mm-hmm.
But I stand by my opinion. They're creepy.
I agree. You don't know what's swimming around you. There could
Mhm.
be a gator. There's a ton of places, especially in Orlando and
Right.
where we grew up.
And it's sorry, go keep
No,
going.
I was just gonna say that have a ton of gators in it.
Yeah.
For some people, lakes can be a relaxing vacation destination for the whole family. Boating, water skiing, swimming, fishing. There's something for everyone there.
We both have actually been swimming in lakes in Georgia before, right? I
Yeah.
think you went on that vacation too.
It's creepy when you can't see what's at the bottom, but I can see why so many people like it.
True, yeah. There are a lot of super fun activities, like the rope swing that was at that one cabin.
Yes.
The views are usually pretty amazing. It's nothing like what you get in Florida, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, too. When we went to Georgia on our RV trip with a few of my friends, we went to what was it called? Blue Heron Bridge. And that's in Athens, Georgia. And not only are the views amazing, but the water is gorgeous. Oh my God. It's like the most beautiful color of like bluish green. And there's a zip line that goes like across the whole thing. There's places where you can cliff dive and rafts that you can just like hang out on like all day. It's pretty crazy, but it was fun. Creepy at the same time because again, it's like deep as hell and you don't know what in the world is down there. So a certain lake in Georgia called Lake Lanier doesn't quite have this fun, happy-go-lucky reputation. It's got a sinister background and ongoing mysteries to this day. Some people claim that the lake is the most dangerous lake in America due to the fact that it may be haunted by countless spirits from the past. Together, we're going to dive into its history in order to understand why so many people are afraid of the water. So, Lake Lanier is a man-made water reservoir lake named after poet and musician Sidney Lanier. It covers what used to be Forsyth County and is located in northern Georgia, about 40 to 50 miles northeast of Atlanta. The lake itself has over 600 miles of shoreline, and at the dam, it's nearly 200 feet deep. Lake Lanier's estimated annual economic impact is around $5.5 billion, and the dam itself has generated around $97 million worth of electricity to surrounding counties since 1957. Not only does it supply water and electricity, it also serves as a huge source of recreation for locals and tourists alike. People can visit any of the 68 parks, 1,200 campsites, and 20 marinas located on the lake.
But as we've said before, it has a dark history behind it. And this dark history began during the 1700s, way before it was ever a lake, when a branch of the Creek Confederacy called the Upper Creeks realized sacred much of their sacred lands had been given away to Cherokee Indians in 1793. Many battles ensued, but ultimately the Creeks could not keep hold of their land. The Cherokees controlled what would eventually become Forsyth County all the way up until 1838, when the state of Georgia and the federal government began to force the tribes to uproot their lives and move to the Indian Territory, or what is now known as the state of Oklahoma. Stockades were even constructed that would hold Indian families who refused to either seek citizenship or move out on their own until they could be moved out of state. The future Forsyth County was basically the geographical beginning of the Trail of Tears. I think it's the southeasternmost point of it.
Okay. Yeah, so these poor innocent people were forced out of not only their homes, but the lands that they held sacred.
Yeah, and probably lands that their families have lived on for hundreds of years.
Oh, yeah.
It's really sad. So this is the beginning of it, though. Let's fast forward a bit.
The year is 1912. The small town of Oscarville, Georgia is a thriving community and home to 1,100 Black business owners, landowners, and families. It's a bustling town, even during that time when racism was extremely prevalent. They had their very own churches with pastors who served as advocates and protectors of the community, who brought townsfolk together to support one another. Life was pretty good here until tragedy struck like a virus. In September of 1912, a white 18-year-old woman named May Crow was raped and murdered near Browns Ridge on the Chattahoochee River banks. This was right on the outskirts of Oscarville.
Oh, God. Now let's pause
Jeez.
and go back a few days to set the tone. A couple days earlier, a 22-year-old woman named Ellen Grice made it known to townsfolk that she had allegedly awoken during the night to find a black man in her bed. She claimed he tried to rape her, then escaped out the window when her mother came in to see what was wrong. Rumors quickly spread around town, some saying that Ellen had been raped. Overall, things escalated fast. Eventually, a man by the name of Tony Howell was accused of the alleged home invasion by Ellen Grice. It's a little unclear, but from our understanding of the source material, 5 other black men tried to prove Tony's innocence by saying he was with them at the time of the crime, which only made things worse. Sheriff William Reed, who was a known mob sympathizer at the time and future KKK member, had them all arrested as accomplices just for saying
Jeez.
that he was with them. Somehow he took that as they were with him.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is terrible. The 5 men were put in the coming town jail. On September 7th, word was getting around about the incident and the men who were arrested.
So basically, they tried to give this guy an alibi, and then they were lumped into this crime with him instead.
Yeah. Probably all because this sheriff was prejudiced and flat out racist, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering.
He just quickly jumped to the conclusion. There was no evidence that these people were even there. And he was like, yep,
Yeah,
arrest them. They were with them.
they were
It
saying the
makes no
complete
sense.
opposite. The fact that the dude wasn't even there.
Yeah, they were trying to
Like,
help this guy out.
it doesn't even line up with the story.
Hmm.
Like, okay.
Yeah. A barbecue was being held by black churchgoers in the area, including a preacher by the name of Grant Smith. These churchgoers heard about the men being held by police, and things grew heated. During the commotion, some sources say Smith was supposedly overheard by some white agitators saying that Ellen Grice probably had been in bed with a black man by her own choice. The white men took it upon themselves to attack Smith, almost whipping him to death right outside the county courthouse. This pastor. And who knows if,
Like,
if that's even what he said.
yeah.
For some reason, I doubt it because it was already so heated. Everyone was
Hmm.
just a mess. And again, although it is unclear, source material conveys that Smith was somehow rescued before they were able to finish the job and taken into the courthouse vault by Deputy Mitchell Loomis, who supposedly did not share the same beliefs as the sheriff. The mob stormed the courthouse only to find Smith unreachable. No one was ever charged for his assault, which
Of
is
course.
kind of sad.
So this deputy was genuinely trying to save this dude's life.
Yep. And those people definitely would have killed him, I think,
Oh, yeah.
due to the fact that it was, I can only imagine like there were pitchforks flying and
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm
yeah.
picturing.
And those times when it came to race, shit escalated so quickly. I mean, who knows if that's exactly what the pastor said or not. If it is, still, like,
True.
you don't die for that, you know?
Yeah.
So somehow a rumor began to spread among whites that black men were planning to dynamite the entire town. All of a sudden, that's what they went to. White residents then sent their families home while they patrolled the town with guns on horseback.
I guess they were able to cool things down a little bit.
I guess so. Or at least they stopped a full blown riot from breaking out because I feel like
Yeah.
that's what it was on the verge
Oh
of.
my God, yeah.
Somehow they were
Is
able
on
to
its
keep the
way.
peace.
So this all happened days before May Crow had been walking to her aunt's house from home when she was attacked and murdered. Her body was found lying face down with her throat sliced in a pool of her own blood. She was at first still alive and shallowly breathing, but she soon died from her injuries. On the ground near her body was a small pocket mirror, which belonged to Ernest Knox, a 16-year-old black boy. In order to avoid the recent uprising in Cumming, police took Knox to the Gainesville jail. Now, this is where a lot of us sources contradict each other. Some say that Knox confessed to the crime on the way to the jail, but others don't have any information about it.
Hmm.
It's hard to decipher what the truth of it honestly is. One of the sources that say he confessed also mentioned that he committed the crime because he had been recently subject to, quote, mock lynching, which was a cruel form of racist violence. Other sources only mention that pocket mirror, which had belonged to Knox, and that this was what police used as evidence to arrest Knox.
But as we now know today, that probably wouldn't be enough to convince a jury. I don't know. I can only imagine. Like if
Yeah,
in murder scenes today, if there's like a watch nearby, it could be anybody's watch. I
it
mean,
could
it
be
could be the
sold,
killer's watch.
it could have been given to them,
Yeah.
and
Or it
yeah.
could just be junk lying around, you know? Like,
It's one piece of evidence and it's totally circumstantial.
mhm.
Word quickly spread about the murder and rape of May Crow, and mobs of white folks began to form outside the Gainesville County Jail. During the night, police escorted Knox to Atlanta in an attempt to keep him safe for the time being and lynching, prevent lynching while they investigated this. The next day, an acquaintance of Knox, Rob Edwards, was arrested and taken to the county jail in Cumming.
Which I don't know why the hell they took him there. If, I mean, they were originally wanting to take Knox to Atlanta to keep him safe from coming. So why did they bring this guy to coming? You
Yeah,
know?
to me, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It was believed by townspeople that he was an accessory to the rape and murder of May Crow. It wasn't long before rumors spread like wildfire and mobs got much too violent. They stormed the jail, grabbed Edwards, dragged him out, and hanged him from a telephone pole. Some say he was shot before being hanged, but regardless, after his body was strung up there, townsfolk began to repeatedly shoot his corpse until it barely even resembled Edwards any longer.
Ugh, it's just so brutal.
It's horrible. You can tell just how violent and out of control this mob became.
Exactly. I I assume they didn't get to Knox because he had been escorted out to
Hmm.
Atlanta, so he was a bit out of reach. So naturally, the angry mobs turned to the next best thing.
Seems like they were just hungry for blood at this point.
Exactly, yeah.
This was only the beginning of a wave of violence against Black folks living in the area. White folks would ride their horses through the entire town, threatening the Black residents and firing their guns into their homes. That's so freaking crazy.
It's sad.
Some would throw explosives into homes and businesses and light buildings on fire. And this violence didn't stop until these people were forced to leave in order to protect themselves. As a result of the madness, the community was burnt to a crisp. Churches, businesses, homes, farms, they were all destroyed. And Oscarville quickly became a ghost town.
These people had worked so hard to build lives for themselves here, and it was all destroyed in a matter of days. It's so sad.
They had a whole entire town built up. Ton of businesses, like we said, farms. Everyone lived
Hmm.
right there, and it's just obliterated. I can't
Hmm.
even imagine.
Nearly 40 years later, the town of Oscarville was next to abandoned. Very few families resided there, but none of those who were previously forced out ever returned. It was around this time that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers were planning to create a reservoir lake that would supply surrounding counties with water and electricity. Of course, this led to the U.S. buying up all the property in the area, including the town of Oscarville and surrounding towns. They purchased approximately 50,000 acres of farmland, which resulted in the displacement of 250 families.
That's crazy.
I know, yeah. 15 businesses were forced to relocate, and 20 cemeteries had to be exhumed and moved. As you can imagine, these families did not go willingly. A writing instructor at Georgia Northwestern Technical College and author of Underwater Ghost Towns of North Georgia wrote in her book, quote, "A host of emotions accompanied the talk of relocation. Anger, resentment, fear, anxiety, bewilderment, and apprehension. To them, their land was priceless." End quote. After all, these families had been there for decades and put so much hard work into their property. Being forced to leave must have felt so unfair.
It's so sad. They were basically kicked out of their own homes. And I think
Hmm.
I also read in one of the sources that one man actually did refuse to leave, and officers literally dragged him out.
Yeah. It just shows how little they cared for the people who lived there at the time. People
Yeah.
who had built lives and grown up there and
Mm-hmm.
raised families there and stuff like that.
It's horrible.
But of course, the US Army Corps of Engineers went ahead with their plan. And here's where the legend of the hauntings begins.
In preparation for construction, engineers demolished or removed any buildings or structures that might have floated to the surface of the future lake or posed any danger to boats or other watercraft. They even relocated any marked graves in the area, but unmarked graves could still very well be hidden below the surface of Lake Lanier to this day. A spokesman for the Army Corps of Engineers stated, quote, "While the Corps made every effort at the time to locate unmarked burials, the limited capabilities of the time made it probable that unanticipated finds of human remains are possible, whether from the antebellum and Civil War periods or of the Native American origin from pre colonial and ancient times." End quote.
So basically, there could be actual bodies still buried at the bottom of this lake.
Yes, actual graves could have been left. This guy had a good point too. What about ancient burial sites from Native Americans?
Yeah, because before Oscarville was forced out, the Native Americans were forced to leave their homes years ago so colonials could move in. So who knows how many unmarked graves were left? I mean, they did say that it was sacred land to those Native
Hmm.
Americans. So,
Yeah, I watched a video, History, the like TV, the television company made like a
mhm,
quick video about it, and they're like a lot of people know that Native Americans create their like burial grounds where there are like multiple people buried there,
mhm.
and they tried to move everyone, but that alone could have upset or brought on some type of curse or,
You never
something like
know,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just bad energy.
Bad energy alone. Yeah.
You shouldn't mess with that stuff.
Definitely not. Concrete block foundations of some buildings are said to have been left behind, as well as an old auto racing track near Gainesville. Although experts say it's impossible, some people today claim to hear church bells, possibly from an underwater church that may have been left behind. This
Mm.
is part of why the lake itself has become so dangerous, however. Debris like sunken boats, folding beach chairs, and other random items have often been seen not too far from the coast, posing danger to local swimmers, fishermen, and other boaters.
Oh yeah. So I'm hitting my mic again. Stuff like that can be so dangerous, especially near the surface,
Yeah,
or the shoreline where people are like jumping into the lake and stuff, jumping off of the boat into the lake,
yeah.
whatever
Of,
it may be.
of course, accidentally stepping on something sharp or jacked might cause serious injury, so it definitely doesn't seem totally safe.
Between 1994 and 2020, a total of 203 people were reported to have died due to drowning or boating accidents at the lake. This, along with the history of the towns which now lie below the surface, have increased fear of possible hauntings of the lake. Some even say it may be cursed. Even divers who have explored the waters themselves have reported experiencing strange things while they're underwater. One experienced diver reported on some occasions while diving in the lake, you can feel body parts reaching out to you. He states, quote, "You reach out into the dark and you feel an arm or a leg and it doesn't move." End quote.
Dude,
Ugh. I hate that. Everything about that,
full
I hate
body
it.
chills. Makes me not ever want to swim in a lake ever
Yeah,
again.
me
So,
either. Yeah. Oh, just the thought of like kicking something.
yeah.
Even down here swimming at the beach, I hate like when
Oh
my
my
foot touches something and I'm
Yeah,
like,
even if
"Oh,
it's like
what was
seaweed.
that?" Yeah. Oh, I hate
Oh
it.
my god, no, I'm good. Count me out.
Same. Some people even say while boating at the lake, weather will change drastically in a matter of minutes and then immediately return to calm again.
It's
A
weird.
few boaters also describe having hit something hard with their boat, and when they go back to investigate, there's nothing there.
Dude,
It's just like,
so weird.
yeah, just
That'd be
weird stuff is happening at this lake.
scary.
I don't like it.
Imagine you're boating and you hit something hard. Oh
Yeah, and then there's nothing there. I would
my
be
god.
panicking, like, oh my god, did I hit
Same. Like,
somebody and they're sinking to the bottom right
right?
now?
Oh
I'd
my
be so
god.
scared.
For real.
One famous sighting at Lake Lanier is that of the Lady of the Lake. The origin of her story begins with two women by the names of Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts. It is said that the two were driving in a car when they suddenly drove off of the bridge into the lake. I think I read in a source that they like filled up their tank with gas and then they sped off, not paying for it. And I
Oh
guess in
wow.
like in a hurry, they ended up driving off the bridge on
Oh my
accident.
god. Yeah, there might be like those windy roads near there because there's
Yeah.
obviously a lot of mountains up there.
Hmm.
I can only imagine them like trying to turn and they couldn't quick enough or well enough.
Once you lose control and you go off the side of a hill, like you can't really regain control,
Yeah, you're
especially
done
off a bridge.
for.
You're going in the lake.
Yeah.
So the very next year, a fisherman stumbled upon an unidentified body floating near one of the bridges. At the time, they couldn't identify who it was, but in 1990, officials discovered a 1950s Ford sedan, which still contained Susie's remains. It was then that they put the puzzle pieces together and identified the previous body as Celia. Susie was wearing a blue dress during the time of the car accident. Those who see the Lady of the Lake believe that it's Susie, due to the fact that the lady wears a blue dress too. She often can be seen pacing around the bridge at night, looking as though she has lost something.
So this isn't just one person who saw this lady one time and
Mhm.
now it's like an urban legend. No, people were apparently seeing her ghost way before they identified these bodies.
Yeah. Before they even found their bodies finally and identified them, people were seeing this lady. And there were people who didn't even know, I'm sure, about this accident that happened
Mm-hmm.
where they drove off. So
Who
it's
are
just,
seeing her,
to
yeah.
me, it's more evidence that it's real, you know. But I'm a believer in we're both believers in ghosts, so
So we're a little biased.
yeah.
Despite the many stories told of the hauntings around Lake Lanier, its popularity lives on. In 2019, the lake saw 12 million visitors. Clearly, people are unfazed by the history and urban legends surrounding the lake's existence. Some say the most haunting thing about the lake is not the ghost, but the idea that the history and culture of those who inhabited the land beneath, even before Oscarville or any colonial civilization, is inaccessible, and we will never know more about the people who used to live there.
So, who knows? It could be haunted, it could not. It really comes down to what you believe as an individual. What
Hmm.
happened in Oscarville is despicable and inhumane, as
Disgusting.
well as what happened to the Native Americans who were driven out of their homes.
Hmm.
Um, the fact that these families were thriving and they were just kicked out is just so saddening. And now their home is completely submerged under the depths of Lake Lanier, never to be inhabited again. So it's just so sad.
It's wild.
They'll never be able to go back home. And I
Yeah.
mean, this was, you know, years ago, but the families, I'm sure.
I can see why it's haunted. I can see
Mm-hmm.
why weird things happen there.
Yeah.
Um,
Just a lot of
it's
bad energy
yeah,
happening,
a
I
lot.
think. And I think that's where that begins. It's just like bad stuff happens over and over again in one place.
Hmm.
And that
It
leads
it builds
to,
up.
yeah. Do you think it's haunted?
Let
Yes.
us know. I'm curious to see what people think. Would you visit the lake? Would you go
Yeah,
swimming in it?
that's the thing. You can still go visit this lake. There's, like we said, there's plenty of people that go and
I'm sure tons of
boat. They go
people have
boating,
no
swimming.
idea of
Yeah.
the history of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is giant. It is huge. So
Yeah.
you get a cabin, you book a cabin for the summer up there, and it's right near this lake. You have no idea what happened. You are in a boat and you're out there on this godforsaken lake.
And you see a lady in a blue dress and all of a sudden she's gone. And you're
Yeah.
like, what the heck? Oh god.
Oh man, it's weird to think because visiting, I never went to that lake, but Lake Blue Ridge, I've been to.
I was just gonna say too, I guess a lot of the lakes in Georgia aren't natural lakes, that a lot of them are man-made.
Yeah, I did not know that. That is
Yeah,
something I
me either.
learned. I thought that was crazy.
It really makes me want to research like Blue Ridge and see if there's anything going on
Yes.
there. Probably
Yes.
not because I haven't read about it anywhere, but you never know.
Yeah, the history video went they were explaining the fact that like because North Georgia is a ton of mountains and then you go South Georgia, it's pretty much flat like when you get to Florida. And
Right.
because of that, all the water just flows south. So
Hmm.
that's why there's no real lakes or anything. So all most, I guess, of them are man-made,
Yeah.
which
Most of
is
the ones in
weird.
the north for sure.
Hmm. So yeah, let us know what you guys think about the lake and about this episode.
Yeah. We're so glad you guys joined us once again for another episode. We know part of it was a little bit dark and hard to hear.
Hmm.
Um, but we appreciate you guys sticking with us through it.
Oh, yes. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you in the next one.
Later.
Bye, dudes.
Thanks for listening to the Weird and Wicked podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you drop a like and leave a review.
And make sure to subscribe and follow us on all of our socials so you know when the next episode is up. Hello. Look at the baby. Oh my goodness. Say hello.
Oh my goodness.
He's getting so big. You want to sit on my lap? Ah. Fine. Have fun. Hey! He just bit my fucking microphone. Is that on camera? Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Welcome to the Weird and Wicked podcast.
There we go again.
What the fuck did I not say?
Oh,
okay. Now I'm actually red. I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Oh my god.
I don't know why that was funny, but it was. Welcome to the Weird and Wicked podcast. I'm Rachel.
I'm sorry.
Fuck you.
I can't. It literally, it played again in my mind. Warning. This episode contains topics such as rape, murder, and satial...
Fuck.
Rape. It's not funny, Kristen.
It's not funny.
Oh my god, why am I laughing?
We're on a roll.
In fear that a race riot was going to start, 23 members of the National Guard 23 members of the National Guard were sent to the community.
I guess they were...
Oh, I don't know why I started reading that. I just kept going. Okay.
I guess they were able to cool things down a little bit.
I guess so. Or at least they stopped a full-blown riot from breaking out, because I feel like that's what it was on the verge of.
Oh my god, yeah.
Somehow they were able to keep the peace. Somebody is hiding themselves into your bathroom behind you. Someone just went in the bathroom. I saw the door open. I think it was Allie. She just slowly inched her way in.
Oh my god, Allie Pally.
That was so funny.